Permanent Ink by Maxine on AO3. Chapter 8. Deku seemed to have recovered somewhat by the time Katsuki had met him outside. He held Katsuki's water bottle out to him, which he wordedly accepted. "Soulmate's coming?" he asked, heading down the path that led towards the student's gym. Deku shook his head. "No, he's off campus, so they couldn't really make it earlier in time. I figured we could just spar without quirks. I mean, if you want." "Boring," Katsuki murmured. He huffed out a sigh. "But fine, whatever." "Great," Deku shot him a grin, which had Katsuki scowling and looking away quickly, but he glanced back almost immediately, unable to help himself as he saw the shadow look that washed over Deku's face. He was mumbling to himself, too. Typical. Katsuki sighed out loud. "What is it?" At least that was enough to startle Deku out of his thoughts. He blinked big green eyes over at Katsuki. "Oh, sorry, it's nothing." "Deku?" Katsuki growled, and the other boy winced. "No, really, it's just know you and I didn't know you and Kaminari were dating." Katsuki didn't bother to correct him. He just rolled his eyes and adjusted the straps of his gym bag over his shoulders. "I guess I didn't know you liked guys," Deku continued, somewhat hesitant, which, huh? Katsuki hadn't quite literally never thought about it like that before. His soulmate's word had just connected him to Deku, and he just shot straight past the gay panic part of the favor of diving head-heartedly into Deku's panic instead. Besides, who gave a shit, really? Had he even questioned it when deciding to go to Kaminari either? But seriously, was he supposed to ask Mina to help him out? She probably would have been into it, actually, but even imagining it made Katsuki cringe. Shit, Deku was dating a girl. Did he like guys? He had to, right? The soulmate gods or whatever the fuck wouldn't just stick him with someone who didn't have a chance of being into him, right? "That a problem?" Katsuki asked, darkly, even though he told himself he didn't care what Deku's answer was. "No, of course not," Deku said quickly. "Not at all, I was just surprised." He let out a short laugh. "I guess I would have been just as surprised seeing you with a girl, though." "Wow." Katsuki frowned. "The hell is that supposed to mean?" Deku's eyes went wide. No, he said, flailing his arm uselessly in front of him. "I didn't mean... That's not what I meant. It's just hard picturing you with anyone." "That's the same fucking thing," Katsuki complained, and Deku squealed, and then followed up with a groan. "Ah, no, I'm saying it all wrong. Shit, I mean shoot. Fuck, I'm sorry, That threw Katsuki for a whole different kind of loop. He stared at Deku, mystified, and crammed down the urge to laugh at him in not necessarily a mean way. It was kind of amusing, hear him talk like that. "Take a breath already," he grumbled. "For fuck's sake, Deku, it's fine." "That's just not the you I have in my head," Deku finally managed to get out. "I forgot, even though I forgot you could date, too, but that's on me. I think it's great that you're with Kaminari, really." Weirdly, Katsuki understood that. Maybe he'd finally mastered speaking Deku after all these years. It was the same kind of issue he originally had when he found out Deku was with Uraraka, wasn't it? That it was hard to reconcile the being able to do adult things version with the kid he'd grown up with. Apparently, Deku felt the same. They made it to the gym, and Katsuki pulled through the doors before stalking over to the sparring mats. There weren't many people around, which, conveniently, less extras to get in the way. Katsuki tossed the bag against the wall and then dropped down next to it so he could start stretching. Deku trailed slowly after him. He seemed almost hesitant. It made Katsuki roll his eyes. "Hey, dumbass," he said, peering up with him with a grumpy kind of way. "I get it, okay?" "Oh," Deku said softly. He looked faintly surprised. "You do?" "Yeah, it was..." He fished around for words. "Really freaking bizarre when I found out you were, Ugh. Katsuki forced himself to say it. "Dating Roundface." "Uraraka," Deku corrected him. But then he closed his eyes and huffed out a breath. "Ochako. See, I could say it," he murmured petulantly. Katsuki snorted. "To her face? No, absolutely not," was the immediate response, and Katsuki laughed despite himself. "Nerd." He considered Deku for a moment. Alright. Okay, he could do this. He could have an actual conversation with him about stupid high school shit. "I'm assuming she asked you?" Deku's brow furrowed, something like a pout over his features. "What makes you say that?" Because there's no way in hell you manned up and asked her. What? Kachan! Deku sputtered, his face flushed. That's just. I mean. He made a strange sound and then expelled in a rush, before appearing, accepting defeat and popping down in front of Katsuki. Fine, you're right, he grumbled, and Katsuki gave him a short grin. I knew it. Well, Deku scowled at him. What about you? Who asked out who? Katsuki lifted his chin, feeling smug. I did. He said before he could consider that, one, maybe he didn't actually want anyone thinking he asked Kaminari to date him. Dear fucking God. And two, they weren't actually dating. Deku was staring wide-eyed. Really? Yes. Katsuki snapped. What, you think I don't know how to ask someone out? No, it's not that. His haze drifted to the side for a moment, then darted back. So how long did it take you to figure out I had a girlfriend? Katsuki's mouth opened to reply, but Deku cut him off with a look. Be honest. Damn. Katsuki humbled. I didn't notice until my birthday. Wow. Shut up. Your birthday? Deku let out an unbelievable laugh. So, 2 months. Seriously. Katsuki crossed his arms, hunched over as he grimaced. She was clinging to you or whatever, and Cyril told me. 2 months. Deku repeated like a fucking broken record. I guess I should have said something. I just figured it was obvious. It doesn't matter, Katsuki said loudly. It's not like I care. We don't have to do that kind of shit. I didn't tell you about Denki. He remembered at the last second to go with his given name. How lucky for me that he kissed you then, Deku said, with a dry, sarcastic bite to his tone. And that had Katsuki raising an eyebrow. That you'd ever would have said anything otherwise. Obviously. Deku let out an annoying noise. His eyes dropped for a long moment, and he squirmed in the direction of Katsuki's folded arms. Unless he suddenly developed X-ray vision as one of his new quirks, there's no way he could see the words scrawled on Katsuki's skin. They were facing away from him, tugged against Katsuki's stomach, and besides, he had a patch on. It was still uncomfortable. He was still struggling not to fidget under his gaze, and he could feel his temper raging in front with every passing second. Is he your soulmate? Deku finally blurted out, and Katsuki's eyes went wide. Holy shit, no, are you fucking kidding me? No! Deku's eyebrows arched, high on his forehead. So defensive, Kachan. Because that's a fucking stupid question. Katsuki straightened his legs out, making sure that he could kick Deku in the shin as he shifted position so that he could bend forward into a stretch. It had the added benefit of letting him duck his head so that he could hide his face from view. You're the one dating him. That's different. Okay, Deku sighed. He pulled an arm across his chest, head tipping back to look up at the ceiling. When Katsuki peered at him, his brow were furrowed in thoughts. You look constipated. Deku barked out a laugh, gaze dropping back to Katsuki. Wow, rude. Then he followed up with what do your words say? And Katsuki actually hesitated. Something in his chest tightened. He could tell him, right now, rip the band-aid off, and get it over with. He could practically hear Kaminari's voice in his head chanting to do it, do it, do it, over and over again, but like hell I'm telling you, he said instead, and Deku frowned. Hiroshima and the others know? Katsuki wasn't one to ask how he knew that. It was safer. If he didn't know which one of them had blabbed, then there was no way he could kill them. Only because they barged into my room that morning before I even read them. Deku glared down, something fierce, which made Katsuki's stomach flip like it did whenever Kaminari shot him a look and tipped his head in a way that suggested that they should head to one of their rooms, like stat, which was slightly startling. Deku had a very intense eye. Katsuki had known that already since they regularly pissed him off before, but now it's in this new context. It abruptly felt different. He shut up his feet, feeling way too warm, and rolled quickly over to one of the mats. Come on, you damn nerd, he called over his shoulder. He heard Deku heaving out a breath and follow after him. Can you at least tell me if you know who it is? Katsuki settled into a fight stance, legs slightly spread, his arms held in front of him. I don't, he said shortly. Why the fuck do you want to know so badly? Because I don't get how the whole thing works, Deku mimicked his stance, bouncing lightly on the balls of his feet as he waited for Katsuki to make the first move. And I don't think Uraraka's my soulmate. Oh. What makes you say that? Katsuki asked, with a low rumble as he darted forward from his position, swinging an arm around. Deku blocked easily enough, then dropped low to sweep his legs out. Katsuki's ankles. I just feel like I would know. I should know, right? If it's her, wouldn't I be able to feel it? How the fuck should I know? Katsuki jumped and landed on the foot, pivoting on his heel to aim a high kick at Deku's head. Deku twisted in the side and lunged forward, trying to get to Katsuki while he was still unbalanced, but Katsuki had the hand to catch up his fist and returning the punch in an instant. When's her birthday? Not until December, Deku grunted. He took Katsuki's hit in the shoulder and then grabbed his wrist, yanking him forward so that he could drive up a knee into his gut. She's excited for mine. Can't wait to see what my words are. Katsuki felt an odd pang at that, something that he could almost qualify as guilt, which distracted him long enough for Deku's knee to bury itself into his stomach. He wheezed, dropping to the mat and rolling out of the way, with a follow-up punch that lurked behind his feet, and barreled forward to catch Deku around the middle. They went down in a tangle of limps, Deku's back hitting the mat with a solid thud that knocked the breath out of him. Do you like her? Katsuki panted, grappling with Deku, trying to pin him down. Deku started against him. I care about her. I don't want to hurt her. Katsuki got Deku's wrists and grasped and pushed them over his head, slamming them onto the mat. Do you like her? He asked again, insistent, maybe a tinge of desperate. Deku buckled his hips up. Katsuki's breath caught in his throat. I liked her better as a friend. Then what the hell do you need to know? Deku went still beneath him, and Katsuki sat back a little. He knew he should get up, let go of the other boy, and climb the fuck off of him, but Deku was blinking his stupid big eyes up at him, and the skin of his wrist was soft under Katsuki's hand, and they were staring at each other. Soulmates. Katsuki forced himself to talk, his voice rough like a sandpaper, as he squeezed his knee against Deku's sides for some fucking reason. Are bullshit if you've got no feelings or whatever the hell for someone else. Then throwing everything away for some shitty random words on your skill is completely fucked. But he leaned forward a little. If you don't feel the same way about her, and you think your words are just gonna hurt her, cut it off now. Break up with her, Deku said faintly. His eyes darted back and forth between Katsuki's. It was almost too much. Katsuki had to look away for a moment, but then, unfortunately, his gaze fell to Deku's shirt instead, which was ruffled halfway up his stomach after their shuffle. He'd seen Deku various states of undress a million times in their life before, so it shouldn't have mattered. It was the complete opposite of big deal. It was just his fucking stomach. Smooth skin, toned over muscles that didn't used to be nearly so defined, and now his belly button. Everyone had a goddamn belly button. It wasn't somehow fascinating to look at, but the trails of dark hair dusting a path south that disappeared into the shorts was something he'd never paid attention to before. Holy shit. Katsuki rolled off and shoved himself into a fluid motion facing the wall and propped his hands up to his hips. He was fine, totally fine. Do whatever you want, he said loudly. It's your life. I've seen you two all tangled up with each other, being gross and shit, so I don't know how true it is that you don't like her. When did you see that? Deku demanded, and when Katsuki glanced back at him, he looked a little flustered. I don't fucking know, weeks ago. Your fault for going all damn common room instead of keeping that shit private. We live in a fucking dorms, you idiot. Deku was bright red. I try not to be alone with her in either of our rooms, he mumbled. It's inappropriate. Katsuki snorted. He turned around to face him again, an amused look plastered on his face, and Deku pouted at him. It is, he insisted. Ida reminds me constantly, and besides, I don't dislike her, and kissing and stuff is... He gestured aimlessly with his hands, his blush deepening. Well, you know. Katsuki did know. He was glad that he knew, actually, because the thought of fumbling around with Deku without having any idea what he was getting into was somehow mortifying. Kaminari made it seem easy, but the two of them didn't have a lifetime's worth of explosive Aminari between them. Katsuki had never grappled with a feeling of inaccuracy around him, or inferiority, and he definitely never suspected that Kaminari thought he was better than him. Even with whatever experience Kaminari had before he and Katsuki had started their thing, it didn't matter. Katsuki didn't care. It never would have been that simple with Deku, despite Katsuki having a better understanding of where they stood with each other now. It didn't mean his previous feelings didn't linger or rear their heads at the most unopportune moments. He was trying, but they had too much history to fix itself overnight. But look, they had an entire conversation about dumbass relationships, and he didn't want to explode his face off, so progress. Yay! What Glasses doesn't know won't hurt him, Katsuki said, and then, because he felt like needling him some more, added, Dinky and I sure as fuck don't do that shit in the open. Deku grimaced. I don't want to think about what you and Dinky do, he muttered, unexpectedly dark, only to immediately go owl-eyed right after. Oh shit. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Ha! Wow. Katsuki grinned. Fuck. He was about 2 seconds away from outright laughing. What, you jealous? No? Deku sputtered. He was red again. It was kind of awesome. No, definitely not. Why would I be? You look like you're about to have a heart attack. I'm not. I'm fine. Sure, Katsuki drawled. He peered at him for a moment. Have you fucked her? He was pretty sure he knew the answer to that. He hoped he knew the answer to that. But he caught himself kind of holding his breath anyway. Uraraka would probably launch him into the stratosphere if she ever found out he asked such a dickish thing. Necessarily evil and all that, though. Deku's jaw dropped. He honestly looked like he was about to pass out any second. No! He cried out, hands coming up to press against his cheeks. Katsuki refused to feel relieved. Oh my god, Kachan, what? Have you? He kind of sounded horrified, like maybe the thought hadn't crossed his mind before. Katsuki lifted an eyebrow. What, fucked round face? Of course not. Don't say it like that, Deku's brows frown. And you know that's not what I meant. Katsuki abbled back, to the other side of the sparring mat. Come on, round two? He said, sliding into position. Deku was standing where he had left him, gaping. Kachan! Come on, Deku, Katsuki called, voice lifting in a song-like kind of way. Kachan, tell me! I'm about to kick your ass if you don't get moving. Are you a virgin or not? Deku demanded loudly, and wording it like that was 10 times worse. It also drew some questioning looks from the other losers in the gym, so there was no way Katsuki was going to answer now, even though he definitely was. But Deku didn't need to know that. Katsuki blasted forward, using a small explosion to increase his speed, even though they said no quirks. It meant Deku barely had time to get his defenses up, and growled at Katsuki from behind his crossed arms after he blocked Katsuki's kick. Asshole, he muttered. Katsuki gave him a sharp grin. Virgin, he shot back. Deku's teeth clenched. There was a dark flush still high on his cheekbones that was ridiculously distracting. Katsuki stared at it, found himself thinking innately, freckles. He ended up on his back that round, Deku panting above him, unruly hair escaping the tiny stupid ponytail he pulled it back into. And when had his hair gotten long enough to do that anyways? And why was it so tiny and stupid? No wonder hair was exploding out of it. And this dumb motherfucker... Okay, so Katsuki maybe had a problem. He slammed into Kaminari's room a couple hours later, still sweaty from their workout and feeling half out of his mind. Is Deku actually hot? He blurted out, incredibly and almost offended, only to realize entirely too late that Kaminari wasn't alone. He and Jiro were sitting across from each other in his bed, guitars in their lap, and startling look on their faces. Startling looks that were quickly shifting into something deceptively more evil and fuck. Oh ho! Jiro murmured, resting her chin on her hand and giving Katsuki an absolute infuriating look. Her mouth stretched into a wide smirk. Finally hopping onto the Midoriya train, huh? He's hot as fuck, Kaminari added, grinning smugly. He shot a finger guns up at Katsuki, which meant Katsuki was probably gonna have to kill him later. About time he noticed. Okay, this was terrible. Fuck, Katsuki said, suddenly and yet so full of meaning. Kaminari and Jiro just laughed. We have been getting longer chapters. I am digging that. I am loving that. Small question. What do you guys think Midoriya's words are going to be? Like, I just wonder what you guys think it's going to be. I know it's going to be because I had to make the thumbnail and stuff, so I had to spoil myself. All I would say about the words is it's very much obvious who it is, who his soulmate is. There is no room for interpretation at all. Are you guys ready for tomorrow for the new Podfic series? It is another bkdk Podfic. I love the fanfic. The fanfic is so good. I really love this writer's pacing. It was so cute. I loved it. I saw the little summary for it and I read it, and I'm so happy that I got permission to be able to podfic it. Um it is a really cute podfic. It it has a healer Midoriya, so we have that in stored. I love it. You guys are gonna love it. It's like a little cute fluff pick, fluff pick. Except there's some angst, the heavy angst. Actually, yeah, yeah, angst, angst. Anyways, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, and have a wonderful day or night. And thank you so much for watching.